Hello and welcome to This Week in Arkansas, where we'll highlight all the best travel destinations in Arkansas, give you a statewide outlook on the weather, and bring you all the scores and upcoming Razorback games all in one show. I'm Porter Hayes, co-host of Hawg Talk podcast, and for my co-host Adam Hall and myself, we are so excited to be teamed up with All About Arkansas and Skot Covert from Channel 5 News to bring you this unique style show each week right here on all of our social media platforms for our viewers to enjoy. Now we will send you off to the travel destination of the week as All About Arkansas details another great trip in the natural state.
In this episode, we will get up close, on top, and under the Arthur V. Orman Lock and Dam in Morrilton, Arkansas. So buckle up.
That was All About Arkansas, giving you a preview of just one of many hot spots in the natural state. For more information and the full episode, head on over to All About Arkansas's YouTube channel. And next up, we'll have Skot Covert from Channel 5 News to bring you the weekly weather update and what to expect for your weekend plans right after a quick break. Welcome back to This Week in Arkansas. I'm now joined by Skot Covert. You were gone last week. We had Zachary Hall fill in for you. Did an amazing job. But how was the vacation? I bet it was a much-needed break. And during this drought, there's not much going on for weather. So I think you picked a perfect time to get away.
I did pick a perfect time and a little bit different context than what you're even referring to. I got to tell you, I love hurricanes. I'm obsessed with tropical storms. Now, I never want anyone to get hurt, and the unfortunate reality is that does happen. But from the science aspect, I really like tropical storms. So I planned a little trip down to the tropics, peak hurricane season, and I thought, if the timing works out, I'm going to be able to be close or near a tropical system. And if the timing doesn't work out, I'm still on the beach with a cocktail in my hand. Like, I can't go wrong. Well, this year, I've tried this for the last 3 years. This year it worked out. I got to enjoy a nice vacation. And then on the tail end of the trip, I got to ride out what was a very brief tropical storm. It was Nadine. And that was pretty cool. Timed it out right. Weather here was quiet. Wish I could have brought some of that rain back, but unfortunately, it's still kind of dry.
Yeah. And moving on to, the forecast. I mean, it's much of the same. We see Saturday temperatures. I mean, we talk about the SEC being drunk. Arkansas weather's even drunker because last week it was perfect. Now we're going back up to the mid-90s. So just give us a recap of what we can see this weekend.
Yeah, so here's the good news. It's been unseasonably hot all week long. We've broken or at least tied records multiple days this week. But Friday night, there's going to be Friday day into Friday evening, depending on what part of the state you're in. It's going to be a cold front come through. It's a dry cold front for the most part, maybe a couple of spotty showers. But the big takeaway with this front is, as you can see, by Saturday, it's going to feel a little bit more like fall, still trending a little bit above normal. But I would venture to say most folks watching would agree 70s is a heck of a lot better than the 90s we've been dealing with. So front's going to make us feel a little bit better out there. Generally, most of the state stays on the dry side of things Saturday and Sunday. I won't rule out a couple of isolated showers, but the chances of that relatively low. It feels cool. It feels a little bit less humid this weekend as a result of those northerly winds behind that front. Enjoy it while you can. Next week looks to be hot, at least Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. We got trick-or-treaters coming. So it's one of them things. It's going to be hard to have the costumes with the shorts underneath it. But, Arkansas, we're used to that.
I'll tell you this. I know we're talking about weekend weather, but I'm going to give you some bonus. I'm not even going to charge you for this, okay? Next Wednesday into Thursday, looks like we get another cold front, and it's probably going to bring the best chance of rain we've seen in 30 to 45 days, depending on what part of the state you're in. The question now becomes, is that rain going to continue during trick-or-treat time, or can we get that rain in? We need it. Can we get it in early in the day and push it out of the area just in time for those trick-or-treaters? Still too far out at this point to say for sure, but rain's coming Wednesday, Thursday. Hopefully it doesn't interfere with trick-or-treating too much.
Well, guess what? If it does, they got their little baskets. They can catch some of that rain because we might need it for another drought. You never know.
That's
But,
right. That's right.
But we're going to go off script. We talked about this before when we record.
Okay.
We're both from Ozark. We're
Yep.
saying goodbye to a staple. We're saying goodbye to
Ooh,
a
this
legend
works.
in Ozark deeply, but I put it out there. To me, there is no better food than the prime rib sandwich lunch at Rivertown. But yes, it's coming to a close on Saturday. I'm going to try to get down there. But yeah, just memories of Ozark football, weather, anybody coming from out of town to go to a Hillbilly game, you went to Rivertown. So
it's one of those things that you meet a stranger and you're talking, you're chatting. I'm from Ozark, and they say, "Oh, that good barbecue place there, right?"
Yep.
And boy, when I saw the news, I thought this can't be real. This can't be real, but sadly it is. And I too am going to try to get down there and get a sandwich, some baked beans before things come to an end. I can't tell you, there are friends that I've not seen in a long time, but I can always count on seeing them there at Rivertown. They've worked there for a long time. It's just going to be really strange, sad, really sad.
You had IGA, you had Walmart, and then you might see them later on at Rivertown, and then the Spectator. I mean, it's just all these things happening in Ozark. But yes, we're saying goodbye to a staple, and I hate to see it go, but I had to end the show to Ozarkians here about that. But I appreciate you coming on. I hope you again got the bucket list. But
yes.
After the break, me and Adam will join you to give us a preview of Mississippi State, and Coach Cal era begins at Bud Walton Arena on Friday. We'll be right back after the break.
Is this a bad time to tell you I went to Mississippi State?
No.
Okay.
Welcome back to This Week in Arkansas. And Adam, we have hit a very pivotal point of the football season. Disappointing loss to LSU takes them to Starkville in a must-win situation. Looking at the rest of the schedule, you can't say anything other than this is must-win for the Razorbacks.
Oh, definitely. And I think even if Arkansas had came out on top this past Saturday against LSU, this game would still be a must-win. You can't go into Starkville with a team that's 1-6 or whatever Mississippi State is, and lose that game. You've got to find a way to win. That game is always scrappy. So that's one that you just got to go in and get your confidence back, get your swagger back, regardless of what their record is. You still need to go out in the SEC and win on the road.
You have to prove that this is not going to be a team that's going to unravel after a loss like that. We've seen in previous years that you start seeing a decline. You've got to bounce back with a win. Even though you look at the rest of your schedule, you still have a couple. Missouri's winnable, La Tech's winnable. So even if you finish the rest of the season out 3-2, you are in really good shape compared to what people thought that you would do. But it still is disappointing losing the fashion that they have this season.
Yeah, and after the loss, you've got to look at, okay, what's next? You're at 4 wins. So this is one game. You're going to have to win one of these SEC games to get bowl eligible. I'm not, go out and say that, Louisiana Tech is going to be a guaranteed win, because you never know what's going to happen, especially this year in college football. But it's one of those things you're going to have to beat one of these SEC teams plus La Tech just to get bowl eligible. So now is the time on the back half of the schedule to where every game is going to start mattering a little bit more.
Yeah, and the downside of it, look, we know what's coming up Friday. It's going to be easy for fans to transition if this thing starts sliding. Everybody's going to be just going to basketball season. And speaking of, Coach Cal era begins on Friday with their exhibition against Kansas, and then they have another one against TCU. But, I mean, what we thought a couple years ago was the most anticipated season, but you see what's coming up for this season with the Hogs starting in Bud Walton Arena against Kansas. It's going to be an electric atmosphere.
Absolutely. And, we talked about before the season that we hope that the season for football progressed better, just so that the football team got the limelight that they deserved during their season, that we wouldn't shift gears as fans to another sport or waiting for the next sport to come up like we have done in the past when it comes to baseball and other things. But, it's really hard to do when you've got this, like you said, electric atmosphere with Coach Cal coming in. You've got the number one team in the country coming in with Kansas. So it's one of those things that you hope that the attention can be divided equally, rather than just shift completely to one sport.
Yeah, and the thing that they're doing this during football season, because we know what happened last season, Duke game, we're talking about an OC. Could you be talking about a situation where now you're announcing a new coach? We don't know, but that's something to think about, like when it comes to transitioning to basketball.
Mm-hmm. And that's something, go in and get this win, try to just take all the pressure off the hot seat, if you will. That's one of those things that it dies down once the wins start. So just get back on the right side of this, get your season back in check, if you will.
Well, we really appreciate everybody tuning in every week to This Week in Arkansas. For Adam Hall, I'm Porter Hayes. Another episode. And be sure to check out Skot Covert on 5 News Online and Lindsay from All About Arkansas on her YouTube channel. We'll catch you next week.